Hello and welcome to this UiPath 2020.4 product powwow, where I'm aiming to dive into the UiPath 2020.4 release a few months on and assess whether or not that really is the UiPath platform that we've all been waiting for. I'm Ryan Mouritz, Blackbook AI's head of automation, focused on customer success and enablement for all automation technologies that we support. Now, to give you a quick heads up on where this series has come from, I see that the automation landscape is transforming very, very quickly. That gives us a huge amount of opportunity, but also means that there's a lot to take in as a vendor and as a customer. This series aims to give quick, digestible content, comparisons, demos, and perspectives on the products, the services, the approaches, techniques that we're seeing in the automation industry. Now, in this particular session, I'm focusing on the 2020.4 updates and how we're seeing those play out in our customers and in the market. So why am I updating now? I guess in UiPath Forward 3, or at UiPath Forward 3 in Las Vegas last year, we saw a huge amount of platform announcements, and UiPath really changed their platform to be an enabler for hyper automation and deliver beyond the core automations that we'd seen previously. Now, what's changed? Well, I suppose back then we saw those releases, but we didn't necessarily, we weren't able to get our hands on that automation platform in its full capacity. Now, what we're seeing is UiPath are delivering the goods against that UiPath platform promise. With the 2020.4 release, there's been 200 plus product and feature releases and updates, which obviously is a huge amount for us to digest and is a huge amount for our customers to digest as well. So now, a few months later, we've had a chance to get across those. Our customers, with everything that's happening, have had a chance to really dive into some of those new products. And I guess what we're seeing is that hyperautomation has really started to become enabled. So a quick dive into the UiPath release cycle, just if you're not fully across it. UiPath released two major releases of a year. So one is the fast track support, one being the long-term support. Fast track support is usually released around April or May. It provides 6 months of mainstream support and 6 months of extended support. And then the long-term support, which is the 2019.10 release that we saw last year, is where you get the full 24-month support and 12 months extended support. As well, there's a bunch of previews that get delivered throughout, and they go into the community platform and the enterprise cloud platform to allow those customers on those platforms to be really at the leading edge. The 2020.4 update is a fast track support update. And what we're seeing is a lot of our customers are starting to move to that fast track support model to be able to start to get to that leading edge. Now, I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel here. UiPath have done a huge amount to try and disseminate or simplify the large number of product offerings that are in their platform now. Historically, we saw the core automation platform being the build, the manage, and the run components. But now we've seen that shift left into the discovery components as well, with task mining, process mining, automation hub, and task capture, as well as into the engagement and measurement pieces, which brings humans into the loop. For automation, really enables that attended automation and starts to bring insights from the automation programs that you guys are running as customers. So I'm going to dive in and go very, very quickly. Hopefully I get a chance to do a couple of product demos for some of the cooler features that we're seeing. But if I don't, please watch out for those in coming videos. Okay, so discovery. UiPath break discovery down into 4 key products: Automation Hub, Process Mining, Task Mining, as well as Task Capture. Now, what we've seen in the automation and task capture side is that the Task Capture tool has now been integrated into Automation Hub as part of the licensing bundle, as well as being able to launch it after an employee has submitted an Automation Hub idea. What this allows is for the speed of capturing the details of the process, as well as the metrics around the process, and then the exporting a process to a PDD, exporting a process to a XAML file to be able to start using that as a baseline for development. The additional thing here that I guess answers some customers' concerns is around improved security certification. It's something that they're continuing to work through. On the process mining space, I won't spend too much time here, but process mining really looks at the backend logs of an application to determine where it potentially is going to be most valuable to spend time and spend effort in automating processes to relieve bottlenecks, to reduce SLAs, and just overall generally be able to have an improved end-to-end process or customer experience. So what we're seeing here that's different to normal, different to previous, is that you're now able to compare data over time. So if you were to deploy process mining on a particular process, and then as you start to automate parts of that process or tasks in that process, you can see the metrics changing. You can see the process transforming within that process mining tool itself. Task mining, so this is one that's in limited availability at the moment and soon to be in GA. But really, what task mining is about is it's about looking at where process mining looks at the back end logs of a process. Task mining looks at the front end to capture all those pieces that exist between your key line of business applications. So where there's spreadsheets and different things to transform data between interacting with line of business applications, task mining will be able to capture that. So the improvements here around improved governance and privacy. Obviously, if you're monitoring what people are doing on their applications, you want to be able to obfuscate data. You want to be able to whitelist applications, etc. So all of that is now included in task mining, or has been improved within task mining. The big kicker here, the awesome one though, is around the one-click workflow export. So the same way that in task capture, you could export a workflow to a PDD or export a workflow to Studio as a XAML file, you can now do that from the mass task observation that you've done through task mining. Now on to build. So UiPath has always had their Studio product. It's been the bread and butter for building and testing automations. What they have done though is they've shifted that to the left as well to make a simpler Studio experience for business stakeholders to be able to automate their own tasks. And we're probably not going to say processes here, but more of their own tasks in common business applications, as well as shifted it to the right to be able to take on more advanced automation applications. So the first of those is around testing in their Studio Pro product. So I'll dive into the changes to Studio first. So what we're seeing there is as we're looking to get further and further into this democratized RPA movement, where we've got actual business stakeholders or non-centralized federated teams doing automation across organizations, they've given the ability to implement what we would call guardrails, I suppose, within Studio in the governance space. So that allows you to whitelist particular websites, whitelist particular libraries, or whitelist particular applications, activities, and packages that you may be using for automation, as well as enforce particular rules for code review, particular rules for workflow analyzer to run before an automation is deployed to production. The other big thing here is around developer efficiency. They've pushed for a much improved command palette, which means that the speed of development is continuing to improve. And then the additional piece is around their UI Automation Next framework, which uses a combined solution, a smart UI automation solution, to more accurately and more efficiently identify selectors for UI interactions. Now, on that simpler side, we've got Studio X, it's just now in GA. And I know a lot of customers have really been looking forward to this one. The thing that customers are most interested about here is the ability for business stakeholders to be able to automate tasks within their organizations or within their departments in those common but everyday business applications that probably weren't high volume enough or probably weren't high value enough to be picked up by a COE typically, but still were critical to the completion of work within those departments. So out of the box, we've got seamless office integration as well as an attended robot. But really, it's just the start of what's going to become a really democratized RPA movement. And it's going to allow people to automate tasks in the same way that they would probably build their own spreadsheet applications. Now on the Studio Pro side, I won't dive into this one too much detail because we'll do a separate video on testing, but this is the new premium Studio product from UiPath. So this gives you the ability to create automation test cases from workflows to both test RPA workflows as we're developing automations, but also to test applications, mobile applications, as well as doing data testing. On the RPA side, the cool thing here is the ability to ensure that you get full coverage in testing your workflows. So making sure that every single activity has been covered. And then it forms part of the broader test suite as well, to be able to automate that testing process, to be able to automate the test reporting, and to be able to ensure that is being performed consistently ongoing. Continuing on build, so the test suite is really where that Studio Pro connects into. This is a central integrated hub within Orchestrator for managing testing use cases and for managing testing robots. What this gives, or what this ensures, is that there is completeness in testing to ensure that there's resilience in the automations that we're deploying, as well as resilience in the applications that we're automating on, if it's chosen that the UiPath test suite be used for application testing. The massive opportunity that we're seeing and that our customers are seeing with the test suite and with the Studio Pro is the ability to do your application testing upfront, say with UiPath, and then have those assets pre-built and pre-prepared to be able to speed your automation ongoing. So if you're already doing automation testing of, let's say, an SAP application, you make some changes to a particular transaction code in SAP, those same transaction codes are what are being used in the day-to-day automation. You've already built that as part of your testing. Why not reuse it as opposed to using disparate tools? The other thing here is that there is integration with standard test management and agile development tools. So you don't have to replace your test management tools, but you can integrate it into your existing testing framework. So this one's currently in preview and coming soon. Document understanding is UiPath's answer to intelligent document processing. So document understanding isn't something new from UiPath, but I think finally it's become a cohesive and powerful offering that our customers are really excited about and that we're seeing as a competitor in the market. So some of the things that we're seeing that it does that other tools don't do is we're seeing really robust handwriting recognition, and also seeing signature existence. So we're not able to yet verify whether a signature is correct or verify that that signature is actually from a particular a person, but are able to verify that a signature exists on a page or in a particular part of a page. There's also a really increased competitiveness around table and form extraction there, and the ability to implement custom AI models for the document recognition. The other cool thing here is that you're not limited to using just AI ML based extraction if that doesn't work for the particular documents that you're looking at. You also have the ability to use template based or regex based extraction as well as implement all three of them if you really wanted to. And you can implement all three of those for different components of a document and choose the method that works best for the types of data that you're looking for. The other thing that everybody's been asking for is putting Orchestrator putting validation station within Orchestrator. Previously, you needed an attended bot in order to be able to perform validation on documents that were processed through document understanding. That's now centralized in Orchestrator. Onto the managed component, and what the managed component is really about is about making sure that the day-to-day operations of managing your automations are efficient and are effective. So quick run through here, Automation Cloud now generally available. We have a number of customers that have moved to Automation Cloud, and the deployment is simple, fast, and very, very easy. There's an improved user experience there, and the one big thing I think that UiPath have been working on here is around improving their compliance and their certification. So they've now got ISO 27001 certification. They now have Veracode certification, and they're working on their SOC 2 compliance in order to be able to ensure that it meets every organization's security needs. Now, standard old Orchestrator or Orchestrator that's even within Automation Cloud now has the ability to support running multiple background automations per robot. and that's something that we'll see when we get to the robot section. We now have modern folders as well, and this is something that a number of our customers have upgraded to 2020.4 just for this ability. What modern folders allows us to do is to be able to put our unattended robots and organize Orchestrator into a very granular, in a very granular way with regard to access control and functionality. So where previously you might have had a finance organization unit or a finance tenant, and everybody within that organization unit or everybody within that tenant can do everything, you can now break that down to multiple levels of access, which allows people to run and manage particular robots that they should be responsible for, but not be able to view or manage components that they're not. Object storage is now included in Orchestrator as well, to be able to centralize the storage of documents and artifacts that are used within automations, and also to be able to store documents that you then want to be able to present in the forms, in the apps, and in the verification station within Orchestrator. There's also a visual package for workflow comparison, which I love. It means you don't have to crack open Studio in order to be able to see the differences between two different versions of a process. AI Fabric, another one I won't dive into in depth because we'll have a whole separate session on this one, but really they've got an integrated approach to validation, model retraining, and labeling now. So where previously what we were doing was really just calling an AI model from within UiPath, you now have the ability to almost build those AI models and data structures supporting the AI models within UiPath, as well as then automatically feed back the verification data and the labeling data post running that model or post using that model in order to be able to continuously train the model to improve it over time. Now, on-prem support is starting to come. There's a very basic version at the moment and something that's being rolled out over the next couple of months. A quick one on the run space. So UiPath have now released a number of integrations. They've always had integrations. There's a couple of new integrations. So Workday is the big one that a number of our customers are interested in that have got large and relatively recent Workday deployments. And then ServiceNow, whilst there's always been a connector developed by the lovely Christian at UiPath, there's now out-of-the-box integration with ServiceNow. And this is often two-way. These integrations are often two-way integrations now, which means that we're not just able to call things, say, in ServiceNow, but able to call things from call UiPath bots from with the ServiceNow application itself. From an OCR side of things, Forms Recognizer and Text Tractor now supported out of the box with dedicated activity modules. So Engage. So UiPath have really revamped the UiPath Assistant and robot. So there's a new robot tray, which has a whole raft of new functionality, as well as the ability to white label that and have that specific to your organization. On the robot side of things, one of the coolest things that we've seen come out of automation for a little while is the picture-in-picture mode, which means that the robot itself launches another instance of your own desktop when you're running an attended automation. And what that allows is for the agent that is using the robot to be able to continue their day-to-day work whilst the robot runs in the background, and they're able to check in on that and be able to interact with that as needed without taking them away from their PC. We also have the ability to run multiple automations on an individual robot where they have purely background automation. So this is for things like data manipulation, Excel manipulation, as well as just monitoring particular applications or monitoring for particular triggers to happen. And what this means is that you can maximize what you're getting out of your robots, but also you're able to, if you have those small tasks that happen frequently in the background that have no UI interaction, you don't have to wait for a whole robot to be free to be able to schedule those in. You also have the ability to schedule automations from within the attended robot assistant now as well, which will prompt the user to be able to launch that automation on their desktop. Action Center, something that our customers are really excited about. The reason why they're excited is A, for the validation station in Action Center as they start to move towards using UiPath's document understanding. But really what they're interested in is the ability to manage exceptions of robots, to manage those human-in-the-loop tasks. And that's something that's existed in 2019.10 as well. But now we have the ability to apply dynamic task assignment. Previously, you would have had to go and accept the task, now a robot can assign that task to a particular user. The other thing here, and this is going to be closer to 2020.10, is moving the Action Center into a standalone business hub, which means that business users now have a dedicated application for managing their interactions with automations via Action Center, as opposed to it being bundled into the more technical orchestrator side of things. Now, there's not too much on Insights. It hasn't changed a whole lot. But what has changed in the Insights application is the introduction of 2 new out-of-the-box dashboards, one around license management, which is always something that gets challenging as you start to scale up to having tens or hundreds of robots, and the ability to draw out metrics from long-running workflows as well. It also supports the new modern folders that I mentioned before, that allows you to have that granularity down to 7 layers. And the installation is simply a breeze. I've done an installation this week, and whilst the installer takes a little while to run, it's about 5 minutes of actual effort and a few clicks to get that going. Now, finally, UiPath have made some licensing updates. The real move here is away from a SKU-based or product-based licensing into a more role-based licensing. And where that comes from is that people are no longer interacting with automations in one particular way. They're not just managing unattended robots. They're not just managing orchestrator. They're not just having an attended automation. As automation is becoming more ubiquitous across an entire organization, people are taking on multiple roles, and people are wanting to be able to get the most out of their automation programs. What this role-based licensing does is it allows us to, I suppose, make sure that what's included in those people's access and licensing, and what's included in these newer products around testing, around Insights, and around, I suppose, that citizen developer side of things, is all bundled together in an easy to understand way. I won't dive into the details here, but really, this is the way that the new role-based licensing stacks up. And what you can see as well is that task capture is now included across the board for almost all products. Now, if I was to summarize that, what we're seeing is a real focus on the human and attended component of automation, a real focus on how people and robots can work together, and a focus on productivity and efficiency of executing throughout the entire automation lifecycle. This is to enable the maximization of value, sustainability, and insights through automation investment. And why we're really starting to see that is when we think about that test automation piece, and how that fits into the broader way that an organization works. The governance and control components really tie all that together. It's something that UiPath have always delivered on and continue to improve on, but now it really is releasing the reins for that democratized citizen-led automation. That's all for now. I'd like to thank you. And in the nature of this series, it was quick, it was high level, and it was hopefully insightful. If you want to dive deeper or hear more on any of these new products, contact me or Blackbook or UiPath. Details are on the screen. And watch out for further product-specific content. I'll be diving deeper into each of these individual products in the coming weeks. If you want to be notified of new videos, subscribe to the series. I'm Ryan, Head of Automation at Blackbook AI, and thank you.